Welcome to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keith from the studios of our flagship stations, 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV. In addition today, as always, we're also on Birmingham area municipal access. Our television stations are Comcast, Channel 15, and AT&T, Channel 99. You can also catch us on the radio, of course, 88.1 WBFH The Biff out of Bloomfield Hills, and here in the Greater West Bloomfield area on 89.3 Lakes FM. We're also on the web, civiccentertv.com. Click on our Watch Live link at the top of our homepage, or view it on the small player on our homepage as well, the top right on civiccentertv.com on your web browser. Also on social media, facebook.com/civiccentertv15 and facebook.com/lakesfm. And as always, joining me here in the studio each and every day is Ronnie Dahl.
Happy Soggy Friday.
Yes, it's a very soggy Friday.
Oh.
When will it stop? Never ends.
And you know what? With that, this just delays them getting this parking lot done.
Yeah, not that they really needed, not that they really could be delayed any further. I mean, it's you can delay it it's already been very delayed. What's another day, right?
I've seen them build houses in the time that they've been redoing the parking lot here.
You know, like I get it's a full remodel, but come on, like where are we? Where's the timetable? It's just we're just in a pile of dirt. It's like a motocross field over here. I drove in yesterday because we had the Kegel Harbor meeting, and we had to unload our equipment, but we can't get into our ramp because, of course, they've completely dug out the concrete there, and it's several inches thick down to the ground. And I could attempt it, but I probably will take out my back bumper. So we pull up to the back there, and with the soggy conditions over the last several days, as I leave. And I'm about to go get back into my car and drive off and go to set the meeting, or at the end to go get our equipment back. I noticed there's just a layer of dirt just caked onto the tires of my car, and as I'm driving, I could hear the dirt just splattering all over the place in the undercarriage of my vehicle and onto Walnut Lake Road. So if you're running over erroneous dirt out there this morning, that of course used to be the Chico Elementary parking lot.
Wow, this has been weeks in the making. And so, you know what, and I knew that rain was in the forecast, and I'm just like, I'm not even bothering with my hair today. No. I'm going to straighten it, but then, of course, you don't expect to walk over in a, massive rainfall. But, you have a hat, you have an umbrella, it just doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. Like I had an umbrella on too, and I'm like, I don't know if it's just this umbrella is too small, or if it's that we've had a little bit of a light breeze at the very least, or severe winds at the worst during these storms. But every time I use this umbrella and I'm walking in the rain from Parks over there over to the building here, I'm getting my arms soaked with water, and then on top of that, it's the wind also. I take care of my hair in the morning, get it all ready to go, and I walk outside and the wind just starts blowing on it, and most of the hair is fine. But then I got this little bit in the back here that once it gets a little bit of wind going the opposite way, it sticks straight up like alfalfa, and I gotta constantly be petting my hair. I probably pet my hair more than I pet my cats on a daily basis, trying to keep that down.
Maybe that's a t-shirt.
Oh. I sure hope not.
I will say we expected rain last night, volleyball, Thursday night, and so we pull up. I picked up my niece because they've decided my niece is a better player than I am. Okay. We were short one week and we needed backup, so brought her in, and she's like, I haven't played volleyball since high school or junior high. I'm like, it's okay.
Almost played at all. So.
She was good. So now they're always like, is your niece coming? Is your niece coming? And then they put me on the other team that's always short players. So, but when I went to pick her up, it just started pouring. I was like, we'll still go over there, but I'm sure it's going to be canceled. Nope. No. As long as it's not lightning, the game is on. But it did stop. It stopped, and we played, and we won again, of course. Yeah. And but with that, though, the ball kept rolling into the mud puddles. And then you're, putting it in sand, and it's just... Then I don't care, though, because I don't have to, you're not working, so it's okay if you look a hot mess.
All right. You should, you kind of expect to be a little bit of a hot mess after a game of volleyball, especially with, damp sand and mud all over the place.
Oh, but happy Friday, everyone.
Yes. Yeah, we're almost there. Things are looking up.
I am hoping that the weather gets nice. I think the storm is going to come through today, and our thoughts are with everyone in Detroit and the Grosse Pointes, because I know they're extremely concerned with more wet weather coming in as they're still continuing to clean up from the floods. And so we are lucky, really, put it in perspective. So what we, walk a quarter mile in the pouring down rain.
I'll take that.
But with that, though, it looks like once the rain moves through today and then tomorrow morning, it's going to clear up, and we should have a nice weekend. Come on, Mother Nature.
Right.
Let's get it right.
Just for the weekend. Just for the weekend, Mother Nature. After this weekend, you can just pour a bunch of water on us all week long.
No.
That's going to happen one way or another. Might as well be nice about it.
I will say, I wonder about all the people. Faster Horses starts today, and all the people that are going to be there. This could be a good thing for us with COVID-19 still in the community, that maybe some of the people that were going to go, because a lot of it is outdoor, standing, there's no covering. So if they continue with the concert, maybe it's going to keep a few people away, at least for today, because you do wonder. I don't know if you saw the headline about Los Angeles.
Yes.
They really have been at the epicenter of this outbreak, but they were one of the first major cities to lock things down and one of the last to open up. But now, guess what? Masks are going to be required again, and it's because of the surge that we're seeing. So you wonder if this is just, a window into what's going to start happening all across the U.S. because L.A., Los Angeles County, most populated county in the U.S., will once again require people to wear a mask indoors, regardless of their vaccination status, and that's because of the recent surge in the new COVID-19 cases. So the change, announced exactly a month after California became one of the last in the country to reopen and drop the mandates, aims to stunt an uptick in new cases combined with the spread of the highly infectious Delta variant. It's going to start 11:59 p.m. Saturday. News out of California comes as the U.S. is once again reporting more than 1,000 new cases every hour, according to a USA Today analysis of the Johns Hopkins University data. The nation is averaging about 25,300 new cases per day, more than double the rate of the week of June 22nd, and the total rose in 48 states, including here in the state of Michigan. So you just wonder, Tyler, if this is a peak of what's to come if more people don't get vaccinated and we see the variant continue to spread throughout the country.
To some extent, it's certainly looking that way, because we've seen across the U.S. that these regulations that were in place, they have been lifted almost in the snap of a finger because of vaccination rates hitting a certain point on first vaccinations, by the way, not full vaccinations, and through the grace period of 2 to 3 weeks after your second shot for Pfizer and Moderna, that we've seen these regulations kind of just go away and people return back to normal life kind of in the snap of a finger. And if you have a situation like that where it's not very gradual, you're opening the door for a situation where people are going to be in situations they can be more easily exposed to COVID-19. And in a place like LA County that's been extremely careful throughout the pandemic to limit the spread of COVID-19 by reopening things so quickly, if you don't have a mass of your population in the county and in the surrounding area having been fully vaccinated against COVID-19, then you have people that are readily able to be exposed to the virus, especially with a more contagious variant like the Delta variant and others like the Gamma variant being out and about. Which can lead to more cases, and that's part of the reason I would presume why they've seen such a surge over there in Los Angeles County.
Well, think about it. The governor had set that 70% threshold, and then when the CDC came out with this guideline, she had to basically say, I'm throwing out the playbook.
Right.
This is what the CDC says. So with that, we're not even near there. And they wanted to reach that by the 4th of July, not just here in the state of Michigan, but that was Biden's a big push across the country, and it's not going to happen. It's just not. And you know what? At the end of the day, part of this is on not only our elected leaders, but let's put the politics aside when this started under the Trump administration, but also the CDC has not really been a great voice throughout this pandemic. And we understand that you're learning about it because it's a new virus, but there have been so many mixed messages from the beginning. Don't wear a mask. Wear a mask. Don't wear a mask. Wear a mask. Wait, it could do this. It could do that. Wait, it could do that. Blah, blah, blah. And so it could be, on your packages. Wipe all your packages down. Wait, no, you don't have to wipe all your packages down. So the mixed messages throughout this entire time has really led us to this point. And I think some of our elected leaders and some of our medical experts have to own up to their part in this. And we understand it's new, but I think they needed to do a better job of the messaging and trying to get it across to the people of the country, because there's been so much confusion. But now you're coming on and you're saying, no, it's safe, it's safe, it's safe. But are you going to backpedal that at some point in time, because you have on other things, including the J&J vaccine, right?
Yeah, and I think in some situations that providing information and then reeling that back in and saying that's not the case can be okay, because it's a precaution that's being taken as you're learning about more about a novel virus like this, like COVID-19. But it's those messages of we're fine, we're good to go back out there. These certain populations of people don't need to wear a mask or distance anymore. These certain populations don't need to wear a mask or distance anymore. It's all going to be on the honor system. You have to wear a mask if you're not vaccinated, but nobody can ask you if you're fully vaccinated and get proof from you. Those kinds of mixed messages, I think, are more detrimental to the progress than anything else, because those are things that we can understand, and those are things that we can control, whereas new information coming in about a novel virus like COVID-19 that we're still learning about over time, it's better to be cautious and update information and retract information of precautions that are being taken than to not take them at all. But that being said, there's been a lot of mixed messages, especially it's safe to reopen, and here we have reopened a lot of things, and we're seeing that it may not have been entirely safe to reopen at the capacity that we have.
You wonder how it's going to impact the border, because the newest information coming out, the Americans who are fully vaccinated can enter Canada as of mid-August. And that's according to the Prime Minister. He said Thursday Canada would start allowing fully vaccinated Americans into Canada as of mid-August for non-essential travel, and should be in a position to welcome fully vaccinated travelers from all countries by early September. He spoke with the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. He's a cutie, by the way. I know that's like it's
Sure.
like a side note, but from a chick standpoint, I'm always like, oh, there's the Prime Minister. He looks young.
He does.
He looks so young to be the Prime Minister, and he's cute. He spoke with the leaders of Canada's provinces, and his office released a readout of the call. He noted that if Canada's current, this is the key factor here, Canada's current positive path of vaccination rate and public health conditions continue, the border can reopen. Non-essential entry into Canada by Americans and others has been restricted since the early months of the pandemic. So many people, I do know people that have property over in Canada as well. It's a huge destination spot for us because we're right here on the border, and we haven't been able to do it. They haven't been able to get to their properties. So it's welcome news for so many people, but it's also, you kind of sit here and hold your breath. Is it going to happen? Because that's a month away, and a lot of things can happen in that time as the Delta variant continues to spread across the U.S.
And my biggest question would also be, does the border, after it does reopen for vaccinated Americans and for exchange between the U.S. and Canada of people traveling back and forth, does it remain open for an extended period of time, or is there going to be, it'll be open for a little while and then one country or another has to reclose the border because of COVID-19 cases, particularly Canada, because they are much earlier on in their vaccination process than we are here in the U.S. So that I'd be interested to see. And then on top of that, I'd like to see what the Prime Minister and renowned cutie Justin Trudeau would plan to do in terms of what needs to be proven by Americans in order in terms of their vaccinations in order to say I am fully vaccinated and get into Canada? Will they require you to provide that full proof?
Oh, sure. I mean,
they would.
and just so people know, I mean, this is happening more and more. I mean, right now, France is doing this as well. And even to go to some of the big things that are happening in France, like if you want to go to the Eiffel Tower, you have to show, I think they're calling it a health something or another, which is basically a vaccination card. You have to prove that you've been vaccinated or have a negative COVID test within the last so many hours. And the whole thing with the COVID test, we even know they haven't been 100% accurate. Look what's happening on some of the cruise ships as they tried to get that industry start going again. There have been outbreaks or people that have tested positive, even though they've been fully vaccinated or have tested negative within, so many days of going on the cruise ship. So with the vaccination card, we have to remember, I know so many people are against this, but at the end of the day, people, you've had to be vaccinated or have certain vaccinations to travel to so many countries. This is not new. But I will say one of the issues is this is still not fully approved by the FDA. It's only approved for emergency use. So the FDA, I think once they go ahead and they, change that status of the vaccines, then that can change as well, somewhat of the minds of some of the people. But being vaccinated and showing your vaccination is not new. I don't remember how many we had when we went to Africa, but I know it was a lot.
Right, and those are marked on your passports regularly. In this case, you're going to need to bring your vaccination card, unless the U.S. State Department on your updated passport does have that marked on there, which I don't know if they would.
No, it's not on your passport.
I don't have a passport, so I wouldn't know.
What?
I don't. Well, what am I going to go to? Escape to Canada? For? Yeah. What am I going to do over in Canada? They don't want me over there.
Canada, you can get the enhanced driver's license.
They're like, hey, stay out of here, eh? All right, go back to the U.S.
You've never been to Mexico?
No, I've not been to Mexico. No.
But, okay. Yeah. So it's not on your passport, but you typically, I will say the only place I have traveled that required us to have a series of vaccines was to Africa when we went to Kenya. And so it was a separate card that we carried with us that showed it. So, and I guess though, because through this, I also learned, like even back then, I didn't know that the state had a program that tracks what vaccines you have and which ones you don't. So I guess it's on my state vaccination information, which at this point in time, with everything that's going on with COVID, they should make that easily accessible where you go in, you have a password, and you can pull it up and print it off. Yeah,
the problem with that is connecting department to department at the state level, which we've talked about ad nauseum. It's a major issue. It's insane.
Gosh. It really is. I will say, I have a friend that works in the government for the first time.
I'm so sorry.
And she's kind of an eye-opening experience. I always said, hey, when I went to work for the feds, I was like, fuzzy Fed world. Hey, this is kind of good to hear, though. A Michigan man, he's getting prison time.
Good.
For scamming us taxpayers with the COVID-19 fraud scheme. So a Michigan man was sentenced to 2 years in federal prison on charges of bank fraud and money laundering after securing $590,000 in Paycheck Protection Program loan for a non-existent business and using those funds to purchase vehicles. That's according to the U.S. Department of Justice. Before the fraud was uncovered, Daryl Baker, 56 of Detroit, withdrew about $170,000 of the loan and purchased 2 Cadillac Escalades, a Dodge Charger, and a Hummer using cashier's checks. The PPP was set up to provide loans to small businesses to keep their workforces employed during the COVID-19 pandemic. Baker pleaded guilty in September of 2020 to 1 count of bank fraud arising from his effort to obtain the loan by defrauding a customer's bank of Pennsylvania. He also pleaded guilty to 1 count of money laundering. He was sentenced this week to 24 months in prison. He was also ordered to forfeit the vehicles he purchased, to pay restitution of $89,864,000, and to repay the $172,484 that he withdrew from the loan. The bank got suspicious when he withdrew this money and kind of flagged it and froze the money. So he probably would have gotten more. He applied for and obtained the loan on behalf of Motor City Valley Solar Energy, a business he claimed to own but doesn't exist. He claimed the business had 68 employees and paid them about $2.8 million during the 2019. Those claims were false because the business is not in existence. Enjoy your time in prison. 2 years is not long enough, in my opinion, because you know what? Shame on you. You took from some of these legitimate businesses that were trying to survive, and so many of them have closed down because they were not able to get the loans.
And on top of that, even beyond the businesses themselves closing down, those are people's jobs, people's livelihoods. Some of those employees may not have been able to get another job during the pandemic after that, and had to struggle through everything that comes with unemployment in a time of crisis. So it's genuinely horrible what this man Daryl Baker from Detroit did, and good on the bank for getting suspicious about a solar energy company that needed 2 Escalades, a Dodge Charger, and a Hummer. I mean, this guy's clearly not very bright with his criminal enterprises. So again, 24 months, not nearly enough, because if someone's trying this once, they will try it again, and hopefully not during another crisis.
As a reminder, you can always get the latest headlines. Go to civiccentertv.com, click on coronavirus there at the top of the page. That's where you're going to find the latest headlines, along with direct resources to the CDC. Dr. Faust was encouraging people, don't get your information from Facebook or Twitter. Go directly to the sources. That includes the CDC, the state of Michigan, as well as Oakland County. We have a link there. You can find the health department and their information right there as well. Hey, with that, it may be rainy and dreary outside, but we have a lot of fun still ahead for you on this Friday. And when we come back here on the Megacast, we're going to be speaking with the Editorial Coordinator for the West Bloomfield Lifestyle Magazine. And then also at 10:40, we'll be joined by the Mayor of Troy. Some good signs going on of things happening in the city of Troy, but also we want to talk to him about, of course, the tanker fire, which took out a portion of I-75. That's all next here in the 10 o'clock hour of the Megacast.
Affect the teen brain.
Our brains are still developing into our 20s.
With regular use, marijuana can affect teen brain development.
It can affect our brain's circuitry and blood flow, and impair thinking, learning, and memory function,
which could hold us back from reaching our potential.
Don't let marijuana mess with your brain.
Get the facts at michigan.gov/drug-free.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
Great to have you back with us here on the Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios alongside the one, the only Mr. Tyler Keefe. Always great having you tune in with us. We are here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon live. You'll catch us on Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access, Channel 15 if you have Comcast 99 on AT&T, but you can also listen to us on the radio if you're out cruising around, stuck in traffic. I will say the one thing I didn't like, I had to run some errands, and traffic is back.
Yeah, it's back, and it's worse than ever. This morning, on my way in, of course, I take the roundabout at Maple Road and Drake Road, come down Drake Road, go on to Walnut Lake, and come straight toward the building. And as I get through the roundabout at Maple and Drake, they got someone from my right that's coming in the other lane, and another vehicle in front of me. And this one vehicle that's in front of me a little ways is stopped in the middle of the lane. trying to figure out where they're going. Eventually starts idling forward. Car's on the other side of me, then stops in the other lane. Nobody's moving. So everyone's seemingly forgotten how to drive. It's a mess. And then there's the rain. That doesn't help.
And the rain doesn't help it any at all, which means it's a great day, though, if you do get to work remotely. Hang out at home.
Yeah.
Hey, one thing, I used to have a serious addiction to magazines.
Uh-oh.
And I used to get them delivered to my house. I had so many. My husband would get so mad because then it's like, can't throw them out at the end of the month. And then they stack up and pile up, and I'd have them all over. And then I kind of discovered the digital subscriptions, and it's not bad on your iPad.
No.
But my iPad has crashed and all of that good stuff.
No.
So, but you still love the local magazines. Every time we get like the West Bloomfield Beacon, anything local, we actually take time to sit down and read it because it's about our community. And so we want to go ahead and bring in this morning Danielle Alexander. She's the Editorial Coordinator for the West Bloomfield Lifestyle Magazine. Great to have you with us, Danielle. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We're surviving. You know what? We wish we were where you were, inside. Are you home?
I am home, yes.
See, working remote on a day like today is a beautiful thing.
It really is.
Although I do have like 15 pair of hunter boots. So every time it rains, I'm like, which pair am I going to break out today? Because I am going to splash in the mud puddles just to pretend like I'm a kid.
There you go. I love it.
Hey, tell us more about the magazine.
Sure. So West Bloomfield Lifestyle Magazine, our first issue came out February 2020. So right before the COVID and everything happened. But anyway, it's a monthly issue that is directly mailed to homes in West Bloomfield and the West Bloomfield area. Certain zip codes receive it. And it can also be accessed online, but it basically covers the good news, community, and businesses in the area. So it's super fun to write for.
I will say I'm a little bummed because I don't get it in Kego Harbor. So
Sorry, you can access it online though.
I know, but I'm like, Our Magazine does this where like Our Magazine, I think if you are above a certain threshold of income, it gets mailed to you. And my sister, they're like, I always say they live 2 miles and $2.5 million apart from us. So they get it. For me, I have to buy it. I'm like, I want something free. But with that, like, how do you pick and choose? I mean, you guys started this right before the pandemic.
Yep, we did.
But in a good way, so many people are at home. Mm-hmm. But was it hard in the beginning to try to reach people to develop new content?
So I would say it was kind of weird. So basically with the magazine, what we do is we plan in advance. So in December, I'm working on February's issue. So we're always working 2 months. So we actually started interviewing and covering everything a couple months prior to the pandemic starting. And so with that said, it was kind of normal for the first few months. I was able to hold in-person interviews. I was able to visit businesses. And then a few months in, things changed, obviously. And so just like everybody else, we had to adapt. Lots of phone calls, lots of emails, and lots of Zoom meetings for a while there. But I feel like overall, it worked. I would say at least my end, the writing and the editing stayed pretty normal. The photos were more of a challenge just because, our photographers weren't able to get what they would normally get. But overall, we made do, and, we're back to a mix of both, I feel like, but we're able to go in, to take photos and to interview when people are comfortable now.
So with that, in the beginning and even now, were you concerned though, because you would interview people before a new regulation would come out? Because we do know sometimes they've been changing weekly. So you don't want to publish things that could be outdated. So were you trying to be careful to make it so it wasn't time sensitive?
Yes, we would do that often. So it would just be the angle of the story, or what the questions we were asking. I would do a lot of, before this is how it was and this is where it's been. And then there'd always be some sort of like, italicized note at the bottom of the article that's like, due to constant changes, this may not be, contact the business, this may not be current, something like that. So yeah, it did pose a challenge for a while.
We even saw some of the interviews like with the national media. This was shot prior to the outbreak, because you would see people like without mask or in person and things of that nature. But how do you pick and choose who you're going to talk to and highlight?
Okay, so each month, so our corporate City Lifestyle is like the big corporation behind our magazine. So corporate comes out with monthly themes. So like, for example, right now we just finished the August issue and we're working on September. So August was our kids and pets issue. So we find different things going on in the community that would fit under that theme. September is our style and fashion issue. So we have, our clients for the magazine who advertise with us. So we'll feature some clients if they're, if they fit the theme. And then we also feature just cool things going on in the community that would work. For example, for the kids and pets issue, I went over to Turtle Creek Farm in Waterford and actually got to, hold a baby goat and play with baby bunnies, and a pig was rubbing itself on my leg. It was the weirdest experience. But we were featuring Turtle Creek Farm. It's a cool place that kids can sign up for summer camp. And so because it fit the theme and it's really a neat, obscure thing in the community, we tend to cover those as much as we can.
I will say, we haven't had them on. And I want to play with the baby goat.
Right.
They're so cute, aren't they?
They're so cute. Yes. It was probably one of my favorite interviews.
That's so cool. Again, we're speaking with Danielle Alexander. She's the editorial coordinator for the West Bloomfield Lifestyle Magazine. And in hindsight, do you think it was kind of a good time to launch the magazine here locally, because so many people were stuck at home?
Yes. Oh, I think so for sure. Granted, I'm a writer, so I tend to like reading magazines and newspapers anyway, but I would look forward to snail mail. It gave me something to go do. I take the kids outside and I'm like, ooh, let's check the mailbox. What can we look in today? So I definitely think that. And our magazine does contain also, recipes often too. And I know a lot of people were at home cooking, so I think that was good timing for that, just to, have another recipe to try out. So yeah, I do. I think the timing was really good.
Danielle, do you do like me? I'm so bad when I go to check the mailbox. If there's nothing fun in it, I leave the mail for my husband to get. I close it and walk away. If there's a magazine or a package.
Yeah. Or if I'll grab my own, if especially for the magazine, it's fun to see it, actually in print too. So I'll slide the magazine out and I'm like, he can get the rest.
Right. See, I'm not the only person out there. I'm going to share this with my husband.
Wow.
Yeah.
He thinks I'm crazy. Can I ask you, Danielle, though, because we do know that magazines are struggling right now. Print in general. Even our local newspaper is struggling because so many people have gone away from the traditional print media. Was that a concern with the magazine? I know you have an online version, but still there's that something if it comes in your mailbox.
Yeah, so the magazine, it's actually owned by my publishers, Maria and Russ Ragone. I think you had Maria on a few months back on the show. And so, they made the decision to go for it, I think just based on statistics and what they're finding. I think, like you said, there still is nothing like holding, a print publication, especially in the local, in the local cities. So yeah, they decided to go for it with the green light, and I'm local. I live in West Bloomfield, and so it was the perfect situation for me. I'm like, oh, cool, I can cover my city and good news. And I think a lot of people, the readership, is high in that it's a fun local magazine that people, will get each month.
Because on the backside of this, we should note too, this isn't something you're buying off the newsstand. It's paid for through the advertisers, and then it's sent out. And so if it shows up in your mailbox, you're more likely to read it.
Yes, definitely. Yep. And also too, if if people who are interested, want a, in-hand copy too, they're also at, now magazines are the magazine racks are back up at, grocery stores and, Stage Deli. I'm just thinking of a few in the area that we put magazines for free that people can go and grab them there as well.
So I love that. Danielle Alexander with us here, Editorial Coordinator for the West Bloomfield Lifestyle Magazine. And I know that you have themes that you're working under, but are you still exploring new places and new, restaurants and companies here in our own backyard that you didn't know about before because of these assignments?
Yes, it's actually, I feel like I get to benefit from the job in that sense. So I grew up in Walled Lake, and then I moved to West Bloomfield after I got married. And I would say every month I'm discovering someone new or something new. And it's been really neat, especially I have 2 little ones. And so especially, places we've never seen before, it gives us an outing, different parks and different restaurants and different places to go. So it has been really cool.
So how is this working for you? Are you pretty much just remote then? And does that allow you to balance that work life, family dynamic that so many people wish for?
Yeah, it's been great. I used to actually be a full-time high school English and journalism teacher. And then when I had my daughter 6 years ago, I left and started tutoring and freelance writing. And so for this magazine, I'm working about 10 to 15 hours a week, which allows me to still tutor and also write for other publications in the area, and then also spend time with my kids. So it's been amazing.
And what a time to, because when you look at what teachers have gone through over the past year, are you like, oh boy, glad I'm not a part of that mess right now?
Yeah, teaching was hard. Pre-pandemic, I cannot imagine being a teacher this last year. So
with this as well, because it is so new, where I know you mentioned that they're starting to return to some of the newsstands, but if people want to see the digital copy, how can they do so?
So it's on citylifestyle.com. So it's actually citylifestyle.com/West Bloomfield. And it has all of our issues from, the current one all the way back to our first issue in February 2020.
I want to go to the Turtle Farm. What was the name of the farm again?
Turtle Creek Farm.
Turtle Creek Farm.
Yes, it's really cool.
I will tell you, Danielle, every week I learn something new every day on this job, but I always have this long list of places I want to visit after talking with people in the show. What's been the best part about this for you?
So I think definitely just getting to know people in my community. Like I said, I live here, and I'm learning about new things and new people, and it's really fun to be able to cover cool, good, news type things in the area. And I feel like, I live close to the West Bloomfield Trail, and I'll be on a walk and I'm running into more and more people that I know now, just because, I'm out in the community more, I'm getting to know, and it's fun to be able to know the people supporting small, and I don't know, it's been a really, really cool thing.
And what was it like for you in the beginning? I know you said you worked a couple months in advance, but we're still, a year and a half into this. What was in the beginning? We said, 2 weeks, more than a year later, but in those middle months, still trying to connect with people even over Zoom can still be a challenge.
Yeah, it can be, especially as a writer. I always feel like my better stories and better articles are when I can be physically at the place. Like back to Turtle Creek Farm again, there's no way I could describe that experience as well as I could having been there. So yeah, it did pose a challenge, but I think just being honest with, everyone understood, everyone was in the same boat. So I think just being honest with them, the only thing I can write is what you tell me. So tell me about it, and so I would try to ask for probably more in-depth questions than I would had I been able to go in person.
So with that, Danielle, where do you think this magazine is going to go moving forward?
Moving forward. So, we're hoping to be able to build it over time. It's right now a 36-page magazine. So I think the goals of the publishers would be to expand and able to grow, and then, just continue to bring the the good news and the great things that are going on in the community to the community.
Do you take suggestions from the public?
Oh, yes. Yeah, we always ask for readers to reach out if they have any ideas. I know, like, just this last month for our September style issue, we had, a little bit in the magazine that's like, if you know of someone who's super stylish or into fashion in the community that you'd like to nominate, reach out to us. And so we're always trying to get, community to chime in, to bring us some ideas and different things to cover.
Danielle Alexander with us here on the Megacast with the West Bloomfield Lifestyle Magazine. And what is the website for people to be able to check out the digital version if they don't get it delivered to their home?
citylifestyle.com/West Bloomfield.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to future issues, and it's been great having you on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being with us. Again, Danielle Alexander, Editorial Coordinator for the West Bloomfield Lifestyle Magazine. She has a cool job.
Yes, yeah, very cool job, and they have a great publication there. We also receive it here over at Civic Center TV, and it helps us too to see what's going on in the community that maybe we're missing, and maybe get more extensive interviews here so that people can read the magazine, learn about different businesses, about different projects, and then even come on the Splash or come on the Megacast here at Civic Center TV and learn even more about it.
Oh, so I can snag our copy.
Of course.
Hey, yes. We're going to take a break here on the Megacast, and on the backside, we're going to be joined by our good friend, the mayor for the city of Troy. Some good news happening in the city of Troy with their library. We'll be talking to him about that and so much more when we return here on the Megacast.
To Sofia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Welcome back to the Megacast on this soggy, dreary Friday morning. It's a great morning to be at home if you have to be and watching us, or also if you're stuck in the office, you can always catch us on Facebook because we do live stream today's edition of the Megacast on our social media page. It's no secret one of my absolute favorite places, and call me a geek, to hang out is the public library.
Such a geek.
I am. So obviously, Kego Harbor does not have our own libraries, so we're part of the West Bloomfield. And here in West Bloomfield, I remember I made my husband, because at the time of moving here, I still had an out-of-state driver's license. So I made him get a library card. First one in his life.
Oh.
I was like, what? Yeah. How have you not had a library card?
Come on, Woody. What are you doing here?
Every city I moved to, one of the first things you do is you go get a public library card.
Right.
And so I checked out so many things under his name. It was crazy. But it really is like one of the best places in all of our communities. And we are so lucky to have some really great libraries here. And I will say, working in the media, we were always constantly out driving in so many other cities. And so a lot of times when you had time in between assignments, we would stop in at the local public libraries. And Troy is another great city that they have some cool public libraries as well. So we want to bring in the mayor of Troy, Ethan Baker, with us here on the Megacast. You're hanging out at the library today, too.
Good morning, Ronnie and Tyler. I am here at the Troy Public Library, and I got to tell you, I'm here because we haven't been a 7-day library since 2010, when we're suffering the effects of the Great Recession, and we struggled with whether or not we were going to have a library anymore. But today is the day. We've reopened on Fridays, and we are now open 7 days a week again. And so we cut a ribbon here right before the opening time at 10 o'clock this morning, and it's very, very exciting for me and for the community. And I love to hear that you're a big fan of public libraries, and the West Bloomfield Public Library is actually pretty near and dear to my heart, because our former library director, Kathy Russ, who was here for 13 and a half years as our director, is now your new director at the West Bloomfield Public Library. So if you see Kathy Russ when you're there, please say hello for me.
We will. We stole her away.
Yeah, you did, and you won. And actually, she was here this morning with me, so I was happy to see her. But she's a good one. So
she is, and she's so fun. We've had her on the show a couple times since she has been brought on, and I will so much energy and so much excitement with her. But same things there in Troy. So really, this is such a huge day, and I feel like coming out of the pandemic, the library is needed more now than ever.
Absolutely. And, we've learned a lot. I mean, traditionally, I think a lot of people of a certain mindset thought a library was just about checking out books, right? It was just there for books. And, well, if I don't need any books, then I don't need to go to the library, or maybe I don't even need a library, right? I mean, that was a big part of it. But we know in our community that it's a community gathering place. It's a place where teenagers come to study. It's a place where people at the other end of the age spectrum come for programming. Obviously, we have a huge circulation, and our books play a key role in the checking out of books. But there's a lot of other things that a library does in today's age that isn't just the traditional checking out a book like you'd assume. So we're very, very fortunate to have the support of our community to fund a millage for our library to keep it open. And this last millage from last year allowed us to reopen it 7 days and invest substantial amounts of money into the infrastructure. Because our building, where I'm sitting right now, is 50 years old. It opened in 1971, and some of it looks like it's 50 years old. So we've got to do some facelift work here.
What's old is new again.
That's right.
Retro is in.
Very in style, right? Soon we'll call it like mid-century modern is the cool thing, right? I mean, yeah.
Exactly. But I will say, too, because we do know the library, it's like you said, it's not even so much about the books, it's access to the internet, because, so many people don't have that access at home, where it's slow, and maybe their computer's just not up to speed to be able to handle what they need to do. But it's really, when you look at it, and, you can check out movies.
Right.
You can check out, for me, it was always the audiobooks, checking out audiobooks and albums and CDs, and there's so much that you can do. And really, it's a huge cost savings to a family to be able to utilize the services of the library.
It is. I mean, case in point, I took my teenage daughter to a bookstore. We were at Books A Million in Southfield a couple of weeks ago, and she bought 3 books that she'll read once and then get rid of, and she spent $60, right?
What?
So that's how much books cost, right? So you think about, you come to the library, and yes, we pay a little bit in taxes for our library to keep it open, but if you get a book, even one book every couple of months, you'll get your return very well, plus the benefits for the community. But yeah, I mean, it really is an inexpensive way. And my 9-year-old daughter, I brought her here with me this morning, and I said, "Oh, you can get some books." And she said, "Oh, I don't have any money." And I said, "No, Ava, you forgot. Like, this is the library. We get to use these services as part of the taxes we pay in our community, and like, you don't have to buy the books. You borrow them, and it's a great thing." And so many people, I think, especially kids who have gone through, they've lived their life through COVID the past year and a half. My daughter, yes, she's 9, but she's, her memories from before COVID are getting smaller and smaller, right? So she doesn't remember what the library is as much as some of us adults do. So we got to reintroduce the kids back into the library and keep it the strong part of our community.
Well, and this is a good time as well, because we do know that we're in the summer months, and even outside of COVID, we would typically have what they call that learning loss period over the summer, and we know that's happening even more so in COVID. So how is it working there at the library regarding hours and allowing people into the building?
Yeah, so we are at phase 4 of our reopening, which is pretty much like coming to the regular library, except we don't have some of our in-person programming yet. Our study areas aren't quite open yet, which actually works out pretty well for summer. But you can be in the library, you can browse books. We're still doing some virtual programs. Right now, we're staffed, I think, at around 56 hours a week, which we'll get up to 65 here as soon as we can hire people. As you know, it's hard. People are having a hard time hiring employees on every sector. Our library is not also wanting in that respect. So once we can get our hiring up a little bit more, we'll be open about 65 hours a week, which will be 7 days a week. It's a Friday morning right now. I'm thrilled to see people walking behind me. We haven't had anybody in here on a Friday in 11 years. So we'll be something for everybody. And, the hours vary. I can't sit here and say, it's these hours from this start time to this finish time every day yet. But they try to staff and have the library open for what traditionally are the busier times.
And we should point out, that's even happening locally at our Starbucks. Every time I go through, it's a day-by-day situation where it's like, we're open today, we're not open today, and we should encourage anyone out there, even if you have 4 hours to spare or 8 hours, 2 4-hour shifts. Go work at the library, and it really is a community service for so many people as well. And two, I wonder too, if you work at the library, you can kind of get first dibs on some of the books.
I would think so, right? I can't say that for sure, and I don't want to get in trouble with anything, but yeah, absolutely. You're here, and the grand majority of our employees at the Troy Public Library are part-time employees. So you're absolutely right, whether they work 8 hours a week or a little bit more, but that's how we staff our library, and it allows, it's a great system for a lot of reasons, because it gets a lot of people to come in here and they don't have to do the full-time workload, but it seems to work. But yeah, we're always looking for people to work in our library. We're also looking for people to work in our aquatic center. So if you have any interest in that, that's always something we can do. Although today doesn't seem like a very good aquatic center day with the rain, but keep that in mind too.
It's a good day for all the fish. Right. They're already wet.
Exactly.
Hey, and I will say a little secret to everyone too. When you go to the library, and the popular books that are on the top 20 list, when they're always checked out, if you go to the large print section, usually they're still in there. Just a little secret.
All the secrets.
And plus, once you're over 40, you need large print.
That is an absolute library nerd tip that you just gave, Ronnie. You really just outed yourself twice. That was pretty special. I appreciate it, but it's very, very true. And I will also say, as a reminder, like you said, it's not just about checking out books here. We've got a full online arsenal of materials that you can download to your Kindle or any other device. Audiobooks, the movies, the television shows, a ton of streaming content. And as you know, you should know, the Troy Public Library is affiliated with several other, like a consortium of libraries in the area. So we all share. If you're a member in West Bloomfield, you have rights to use the Troy Public Library materials as well. You just have to log in and acknowledge all that stuff. But yeah, we really do have a great library here, and our Metro Detroit community is full of good libraries. But come to Troy for sure.
What an exciting day for the city of Troy. But I will say, looking behind you, people, it's busy. It really is busy. So
it is nice. I know I'm strangely distracted and excited to see people walking behind me. So it's a wonderful thing. And our community, they were ready for this, and they supported it with the millage last fall. And I'm glad they're proving that their vote was the right one by showing up today.
And this is a perfect example of what your tax dollars mean. And this is your tax dollars at work and how it can benefit you. So take advantage of it. Right. Save your family some money and support local as well. And Mayor, while we have you on, of course, we have to talk about the I-75 tanker crash. And that video was just crazy that the Troy Police Department posted, and it was the scene from another tanker truck watching the other tanker truck crash. It is a miracle that that no one was really seriously hurt in that accident.
It was a miracle, and that the week started on that low, and here we are with the high of the library. But you have a tanker truck, and you do see the video. You see basically the truck swerve across the lanes of traffic, doesn't hit anybody else, but does slam into that new center divider and explode with 14,000 gallons of fuel, both diesel and regular gasoline on there. And the driver is fine, had some minor injuries, and nobody else was hurt. I can't say the same for our brand new I-75 freeway. Which, we just celebrated reopening finally. Here we are now. We're down to one lane in each direction at least, and it'll be a while before it gets rebuilt, because it needs to be rebuilt. I posted some pictures on my social media that just show I mean, when fires burn that hot, they melt concrete, right? Everything structurally was destroyed in a sense. So they'll be out there rebuilding all of those. And I'd be remiss if I didn't give a special, again, thanks to our police department and our fire department, who were the first responders that were out there. Our firefighters put out that fire over several hours, and anyone in the region could see that huge plume of black smoke and everything that was going on. It was a big deal. And the city really came together with the police, helped directing traffic, of course, and then our Department of Public Works out there shoveling, and they throw a lot of sand and stuff over fires like that to help clean up. And it's just been an all hands on deck effort, and I really want to commend everybody on our city staff for doing so.
Yeah, they were pretty amazing. And I thought I heard something, but I didn't know this before. Are your firefighters volunteer?
They are. So that's the amazing thing. We have a staff of 10 who are paid city employees, but 165 volunteer firefighters do the work of our city. And it's a system that's been in place for decades, and we've always had it. And I really do believe we're the best volunteer firefighter department in the country. People come to us all the time and say, how do you do it? And the reality is you can't start a new fire department like that anymore. Ours is so successful because it's organically grown like this over the years. But just because they're volunteers doesn't mean we sacrifice anything for safety. Our ISO safety rating is just as high as a paid department. We are top of the line of equipment, and we have a great team of men and women who go out there and risk their lives and keep us safe. And really it is, when you add that they're a volunteer firefighter department who are standing there putting out a tanker fire that was ignited by 14,000 gallons of fuel on a major interstate, you really think, wow, they are committed and dedicated. So we celebrate them in every possible way.
Most definitely. And we do know that a lot of the volunteer firefighters, they have regular jobs. So when they get that call, or they get, I want to say page, but we don't really page any longer. But when they get that call.
They do page.
Oh, they do page?
They have pagers. Yeah, they're a little different pagers than it was in, the 90s and 80s. But they have a pager radio system.
So with but they go through training, and they spend so much of their own time going through that training and then dropping everything, in a moment's notice to be able to respond to a situation like that. So it's like you said, a huge shout out to all of them. But I have to wonder, I was like, when I saw that, I was like, really? You couldn't do it on a stretch of the freeway that hasn't been redone? But you also wonder, because it's been a nightmare navigating 75 in that stretch because of all the construction, and then this happens. What type of impact do you think that's going to have on some of your businesses?
It's interesting. I thought a lot about it. Obviously, anytime you shut down the major interstate or reduce traffic, there's going to be an effect. But I think the bigger difficulty for our businesses in Troy and our residents, frankly, was the closures on Big Beaver and that restriction. That because that's still fully open, all the businesses still have access. And people, the other good part of it is because we've been under construction for 3 years at this point, people are pretty familiar with the workarounds, so they might just slip right back into how they dealt with that. And the repairs won't take nearly as long as it took to redo the whole project. But yeah, it's going to have some effect. Some people will say, I don't want to deal with it right now, and we'll just have to welcome them back with open arms in several weeks when it's reopened and back to normal again.
It is true, because it's like you said, everyone knows to avoid 75. Plus, last weekend or prior 2 weekends ago, my days are all mixed up, but the whole stretch of 75 was shut down for the demolition of the bridge from 8 Mile up to Square Lake. So it's nothing new to have to navigate that entire stretch of roadway. Again, we're talking with Ethan Baker. He's the mayor for the city of Troy. And Mayor, just another minute or two so we can let you get back to enjoying the library and the festivities there. Anything else going on in the city that you want to share with us?
Oh, let's see. Well, there's always something going on. What do I want to highlight in a minute? I mean, we're open here in Troy, right? I mean, our restaurants, our businesses, our shopping. Ronnie, I know you love Somerset. It's been open for quite a while, but we've worked really hard to keep our community supporting our businesses and restaurants. So they're here to welcome back the greater community into our city, and we're ready for you. Come on in. Don't be afraid of the construction and stuff. We still can serve you, and we're doing well. We've got our farmers market. It's, although in the rain right now, not always the best, but we do Fridays 12 to 5 at the City of Troy Community Center North parking lot. We have a great farmers market and great vendors and people who work there. So lots of reasons to come to Troy on a nice sunny day. Come check out our aquatic center as always. We're just we're humming along and looking forward to having people come back into the office building slowly and safely. But we do expect to see that increase. Probably closer to September, I would expect there'll be a bigger influx of people coming back to work in our actual office buildings. And I know that's going to be great for the small businesses that have depended on those office employees to eat their lunches and to use their dry cleaners and such in our area. So that's about it.
Well, it's, again, you're listening to 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. And Mayor, we always appreciate your time. And it's been great talking to you and great to see the library back open.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good to see you. And you're back in studio. And also nice to know you're having a Megacast still. Because I know there was some question about whether or not the Megacast would continue. I'm happy to see it continuing and both of you sitting across from each other.
We are. We built a new studio, so there is a distance, but we're back here. But I will say, days like today, I'm like, I really wish I was still back at home in my pajamas.
Yeah, understandable. I got you, but we gotta get back to normal a little bit, Ronnie. We gotta do it.
I know.
Plus, you gotta keep those clothes and buying those clothes at all of our good shops in Somerset, and so we gotta keep you coming into the office.
I will tell you, I was ranting because I went to Apple. I have to get new Apple devices. There is a line. There's a waiting line to get into the Apple store. So they have not suffered through this pandemic.
No, they're doing just fine. I was there the other day myself, so I feel your pain.
Well, Mayor, it's always great talking to you, and happy summer to you and your family as well.
Thank you very much. Good to see you both.
We're going to take a break here on the Megacast, and when we come back, talking about the roadways, we're going to be talking. Oh wait, no, that's coming up at 11:40, right?
That's 11:20.
No, 11:20. Yeah, we're going to be talking about some of our most dangerous roadway in the intersections. What are they, and why are they like that? That's coming up next here on the Megacast.
Here's one more reason to get the COVID-19 vaccine. It's your shot to win. Anyone 18 years or older in Michigan vaccinated between December 1st, 2020 and July 30th, 2021 is now eligible to win millions in cash prizes, including $1 million jackpots and $50,000 daily prizes. And vaccinated students could win thousands in college scholarships. For eligibility details and to enter, go to mishottowin.com.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid. Can I ask you a question? Why did you get vaccinated?
I'd like to go to these school dances and spring break to have fun.
I want to be in person for college next semester.
I want to get out of this pandemic.
I wanted to protect the people around me.
Why did you get vaccinated?
Because I'm really looking forward to hanging out with my friends.
I just want to go to a show, dance around, not have to worry about anything, feel like I'm free again.
So we can not miss out on the best years of our life.
How does marijuana affect the teen brain?
Our brains are still developing into our 20s.
With regular use, marijuana can affect teen brain development.
It can affect our brain's circuitry and blood flow and impair thinking, learning, and memory function,
which could hold us back from reaching our potential.
Don't let marijuana mess with your brain.
Get the facts at michigan.gov/drug-free.
Thank you for taking time to be with us here on the Megacast. We're here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon. You can always catch us, Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access. Catch us on Channel 15 on Comcast, 99 on AT&T, or if you're out driving around in your car, you can tune us in, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. But if you're one of the few people like the rest of us that are returning back to the office and you need a break from your working schedule, you can always just live stream us on Facebook. There we post the show each and every day as well. Sadly, so many people are getting back on the roadways and traffic is back. And what does that mean? It's going to lead to more accidents. I will say I kind of enjoyed being able to go out any time of the day and not having a lot of people on the roads with you.
Yeah, it's nice and peaceful. You got from point A to point B a little bit quicker. You didn't have to worry as much about people being distracted by doing a million things to move their day along while also driving in a motorized vehicle and doing things they shouldn't be doing in a car. Now you do.
Hey, so we want to go ahead and bring in Todd Berg. He's an attorney with the Michigan Auto Law, and they recently put together a list of Michigan's most dangerous intersections in 2020. Talk more about that. Let's bring in Todd Berg. Great to have you with us, Todd. How are you?
Good morning, Ronnie. I'm doing very well. Good morning, Tyler.
So are you back in the office?
No, I'm not. I'm still working remotely. Not everybody in our family has been vaccinated and cannot yet be vaccinated. So I have a very understanding boss, Steve Gersten, and he's allowed me to continue working remotely. So I'm in my button-down shirt with my camo shorts on right now.
Todd, you're a person after my own heart, let me tell you. But it has been strange for so many of us as we start to return to the office, and even just over the past 6 months, taking a look at the traffic. But you guys did this study, and you did it in 2020. What did you find, and why do you do it to begin with? You're a law firm.
Well, can I back up for just 1 second?
Absolutely.
So you're right. It was a very interesting year. Our law firm, we help people who've been injured in car and truck and motorcycle accidents, and so we follow these crash trends every year. We put out a list, put out a top 20 for the whole state, and we go county by county as well. And so we watch these things very closely because we see sadly we see the result of the tragedy that can befall families that are involved in accidents. And so 2020 was an extremely interesting year because, for obvious reasons, the pandemic shut everything down. People were working from home, people were working remotely, and traffic overall, not just in the intersections that we highlight in our list, but just traffic overall was drastically reduced. And I think across the state it was maybe 50% down, and I think even in Detroit it was down about 60%. And not surprisingly, the overall number of crashes in the state dropped considerably. But the one thing that did not and went the other way was the number of fatalities, which was extremely puzzling and frustrating, that less people were on the roads, but more people were being injured. And the data and information that we've been able to see is that a lot of that had to do with speed. And speed is a major contributor to fatal crashes every year. But I think that during the pandemic, the people that were venturing out, some of them were just taking more liberties with the open roads, and sadly, more crashes were occurring. And a lot of it had to do with the speed issue.
Yeah, and we've seen that. I remember those days as well, especially on the highways. I mean, people would be passing you at like 110, 120, and you're like, hey, this isn't a drag race here, people.
No, but I don't know. I don't know why people would do that. Because I mean, just driving fast anyway is extremely dangerous, and I don't know. It was a sad statistic to see. But hopefully, as people are taken back to the roads, hopefully we see some more safe driving. One of the things we did see in our intersection lists was that the general trend overall was considerable drops in accidents, at least at these intersections. And the reason we look at intersections, which usually includes roundabouts as well, based on the stats. The reason we look at intersections is because they are, whether I don't know if you know this or not, but I didn't until we started looking into this. They are inherently dangerous. 1/3 of all fatal traffic crashes in Michigan occur at intersections.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Really?
All intersections, stoplights, stop signs, you name it. So, and I hadn't really thought about it. I guess it does make sense because everybody's going in every which direction, and sometimes people aren't paying attention. You got people stopping and starting and turning left, but it's a serious issue. And you know, we want people to be safe, and we want people to be able to make decisions about where they travel, how they travel, and keeping themselves safe and their families. And if you can avoid an intersection that you believe that you know it has a lot of crashes, great. If you cannot, then be on high alert.
So before we jump into some of the intersections, how do you compile your data?
We request the data from the Michigan State Police Traffic Crash Unit, and they provide it to us. They're fantastic, and they're fantastic, and they're willing to do it, and they're always helpful because their goal is also public safety.
Yeah.
It's to help people stay safe.
This is so. I'm thinking like it must be a lot of data to go through, though.
It's a ton. Yes, it is a lot. I'm not the one that actually does that part of it, but I have seen it, and I know it is a lot. And just preparing for our talk today, it's a lot to go through and look at to try to keep straight.
Todd Berg with us here on the Megacast. He's an attorney for the Michigan Auto Law, and the law firm puts together Michigan's most dangerous intersections. And your 2020 list, give us a highlight of some of the intersections. And we hear a lot of talk about roundabouts. In your findings, how much of those contribute to some of these accidents versus our regular four-way stop and then also our Michigan left?
Okay. Well, I'm sorry, I cannot tell you about where the Michigan lefts come into on our list. We don't have the data for that, so I don't know that.
Okay.
And please forgive me if I have to look down a little bit because I did have to take some notes, and it's a lot to remember. So.
Oh, please read away. That's what we do. We're good with that.
Okay. Well, I didn't want to be rude and do that. Let me just give you a highlight. So okay. Our top 20 intersection, our big list, which is the top 20 for the state, the 16 of those intersections were in the Metro Detroit area, Wayne, Macomb, and Oakland. Wayne was in the top list, the top 25 times. Macomb was in 7, and Oakland was in 4 times. The other counties that made it into the top 20, Kent County had 3 intersections in Grand Rapids, and Washtenaw County had 1 intersection, a roundabout in Ann Arbor. And so overall, we had 4 roundabouts that made it into the top 20 of our most dangerous intersections in Michigan. 2 were Oakland County. One was the Martin Parkway Pontiac Trail roundabout. One was the Orchard Lake and 14 Mile. And then the roundabout in Washtenaw County, which is at State and Ellsworth in Ann Arbor. And then the other was 18.5 Mile in Van Dyke over in Sterling Heights.
And you wonder about that too, because when we speak with the Road Commission, they say that the roundabouts are actually safer. It's really trying to educate people. And, you know, I've traveled in Europe. Roundabouts are just a way of life when you're in Europe, and they seem to be able to navigate them so much better than we are here. And when you were looking at this, and I don't know if this was a factor at all, because some of them, especially the one here in Oakland County that made your list, at Orchard Lake Road and 14 Mile, it's so confusing because they also kind of come off and there are stoplights like right after them. It's confusing. It
is, and I don't think there's anything that's I think it's all a question of habit and what you're used to. I mean, obviously, these things work like a charm in Europe. That's probably because people in Europe have been driving on them since they got behind the wheel. And this, for a lot of people, is new and it's challenging, and not all of us adjust real well to change and to doing things they haven't done before. And there's a lot of moving parts. You're changing lanes. You're starting on this right lane. You're going way over to the left lane. Then all of a sudden you see a sign, and this, like you say, you're trying to get out, and all of a sudden you got a stoplight. What?
Right.
It's like a pinball machine.
And I hate it when I get into a lane and I want to go one way, especially the Orchard Lake of 14 Mile, because that's the one I take so much. But no, you're in that lane and it can only go straight, which then takes you up to the stoplight. Then you got to go all the way through, down the road, go back, do a Michigan left to get back to where you wanted to go.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about it. Yeah, you're right. You go through, you survive the roundabout, and then you still have to do a Michigan left. You got to add like 20 minutes onto your commute just to do it. I mean, when I go through a roundabout, I didn't grow up doing those things, and so they're all new to me. I just put my hands on 10 and 2, go nice and slow. Better to arrive alive. So if I have to go through, if I have to circle around one or two more times, that's so much the better.
And I will say, anyone who has been to France, like in Paris, the ones around the Champs-Élysées, they move so fast there. We got stuck on that once, and we just went round and round and round and round. It was like, hey, are we going to run out of gas at all? Because we were too afraid to move out. But in Europe, they were going at a pretty high rate of speed. Let's just say that.
They vroom over there.
Right?
It'd be very intimidating.
Yeah.
Especially compared to what's challenging us over here. To go do that would be like death-defying, I think.
So we should note Orchard Lake Road, 14 Mile, Farmington Hills, 89 crashes and 11 injuries. And we're talking 2020 when we weren't driving the roads. And that seems like a pretty high number.
Yeah, it is a pretty high number. Unfortunately, it is, and but hopefully those numbers won't increase now that we're back and we are, leading the lives that we used to lead. The one thing I would like to say about the roundabouts is there is a lot of controversy about I shouldn't say controversy, and mind you, we talk about roundabouts and we add these in there. And we get a lot of pushback from people saying, you shouldn't talk badly about roundabouts. And we're not saying one thing or the other. Our whole goal here is just to provide information and try to help people keep safe. And there is a lot of discussion about roundabouts. It always comes up, and people say, well, roundabouts are safer. And we're not here to dispute that. And we're not here to say one way or the other. Roundabouts, it appears, based on the numbers that we see, it appears that the accidents that occur in roundabouts tend to have fewer ambulances called to the scene than those intersections might have before. But at the same time, a lot of those some of those roundabouts have higher numbers of car accidents than they did when they were conventional intersections. And the concern that we have, and the reason we talk about the number of accidents, whether it's a roundabout or a conventional intersection, is because what we're trying to do is we're trying to talk about what's dangerous from the perspective of your danger, our danger, anybody's danger of being involved in or injured in a car accident. And it's not necessarily whether an ambulance was called to the scene or not. It's whether or not accidents are occurring there, because you're more likely to be involved in an accident where accidents are occurring. And so we try to focus on those intersections and roundabouts where there's the most accidents, because whether an ambulance is called there 10 times or whether it's not called there at any time, if there's a high number of accidents, your chances of being in an accident are greater because there's just more accidents. And the one thing, when people talk about the safety of whether it's a roundabout or any other intersection, a lot of times people point to, well, there's only so many injuries reported. The reports about injuries or fatalities at accidents is only what goes into the traffic crash report that's entered in by the police when they're there. What none of this takes into account, and this is what we see on our end, is is the multitude of people that are in an accident who, because of the adrenaline of the situation or whatever else is going on, they don't think anything's wrong at the time. I mean, have you ever had that happen where you've injured yourself, you've been doing something, I don't know, maybe you're playing a sport or something, and you're just so wrapped up in what was going on, people say, you know, what, are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. But it hits later on. And that's what we see. And that's what our concern is are there accidents? Because if there are, your chance of getting involved and injured are greater. And the fact that something is reported at the scene by the police is not necessarily indicative of what happens. It doesn't tell the whole story.
That's such a good point. Again, Todd Berg with us here. He's an attorney for the Michigan Auto Law. And I know that you mentioned that the reason why you do this list is for public awareness. What is the feedback from the public? Do they pay attention?
Yes. Hopefully it is because people are interested in safety as we are. I think there's also a bit of just curiosity and just general interest. You know, people like to, it's like talking about the traffic and weather. People like to talk about these things, and people have very strong opinions about what intersection is the worst. I mean, we will get comments on our Facebook page and to our blog posts, and they'll point out some intersection in their town that, you know, doesn't even make the list on, according to the state police statistics. But, you know, that makes a difference to them and whatever their community is. It works out really well because people like to talk about this. They like to talk about roundabouts. They like to talk about intersections and traffic. I mean, they just do. I mean, it happens. And fortunately, inadvertently, the safety message comes through because it's going to settle into people's minds. When you talk about that an intersection has, 108 crashes on the course of a year, that kind of thing just sits in somebody's mind. They might not think about it right at the moment, but later on they might think, well, no, I'm going to take a different route. So I heard about this intersection. I saw it on TV. I saw a blog, or I saw it in the newspaper or something. Let's just try a different route.
I will say there are times that I try to avoid some of these. When I can, that roundabout at Orchard Lake, 14 Mile, unfortunately, that typically is the only Starbucks that happens to be open lately. But the other one that I hate is Telegraph Road and 12 Mile, Southfield. And these are poorly designed intersections, I think, as well. So, but with that, Todd, if I can ask just a minute or two here with you, how can people get the full list?
Oh, they can go to michiganautolaw.com, and they can go to our section on dangerous intersections. They could also go to our blog, where we have lists for Oakland, Macomb, Wayne, Detroit, Kent, Muskegon, all kinds, probably at least 10 or 12 different counties, Michigan counties, with a top 10 most dangerous list for those individual counties.
Again, we're talking with Todd Berg. He's an attorney for the Michigan Auto Law. Todd, great to have you with us. We so appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Ronnie. I had a great time. Drive safe.
Thank you so much. And it's an interesting list, and we encourage everyone to check it out. It will change, I think, how you drive when you approach some of these intersections. We're going to take a break here on the Megacast, and when we come back, we'll be speaking with an artist and how he is helping the restaurant industry. That's next here on the Megacast.
Here's one more reason to get the COVID-19 vaccine. It's your shot to win. Anyone 18 years or older in Michigan vaccinated between December 1st, 2020 and July 30th, 2021 is now eligible to win millions in cash prizes, including $1 million jackpots and $50,000 daily prizes. And vaccinated students could win thousands in college scholarships. For eligibility details and to enter, go to mishottowin.com.
The Trevor Project is sharing how you can support LGBTQ youth who may be at risk.
It's simple. Just show them that you care. C-A-R-E. Connect. If you noticed any warning signs of suicide from someone you know, reach out to them.
Ask. Ask directly. Are you thinking about killing yourself? It might be challenging, but talking about suicide is proven to reduce risk.
Respond. If they open up to you about their suicidal ideation, honor that trust by responding with compassion and empathy.
Empower. Talking openly is a great first step, but now you can empower them with the information and the support they need to improve their situation.
Learn more about how you can show them you care and help prevent LGBTQ youth suicide. Visit trvr.org/care.
Thank you for taking time to be with us here on the Megacast. Just as a reminder, you can always go back and watch some of the previous episodes. Just go to civiccentertv.com, click on the Megacast, and there you'll find all of the episodes dating back to March 2020, when the show was first developed out of the crisis, and it continues today. Or if you just click on the on-demand section, you'll be able to catch some of the individual interviews as well. With that, so many people have really rallied around the restaurant industry throughout this pandemic to try to help our restaurants survive. Because even though now the restaurants are back open, they're allowed to be at full capacity, we know it's not business as usual because they're still struggling. And so many of the restaurants can't be open, even every day of the week because they can't get enough staff. So the crisis is continuing. But in the middle of this, there is a local artist, a well-known artist, that has found a way to support them through his artwork. We want to bring in Tony Roko. He is not only the artist, but also started the Restaurant Relief Fund. Tony Roko, the Restaurant Relief Fund. Great to have you with us. What a cool background you have.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for the opportunity.
So before we jump into your effort to try to help the restaurant industry, tell us more about your artwork.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that if you're perhaps referring to the style, I think it's sort of sourced in expressionism. A lot of the stuff that perhaps people may have be familiar with from like the turn of the century, Paris type, 1910, Toulouse-Lautrec, Picasso, and that is sort of my early influences. So hopefully that comes through. I mean, I was extremely influenced as a kid by silent films because my parents were immigrants, and that was something that we could all watch and enjoy together without me having to paraphrase the entire time. And so I think that what I've ended up doing in retrospect is taking a lot of these, classic images from, either old photography, vintage photography, or silent films, and kind of surging them with vivid colors and hopefully creating something that's familiar and but yet contemporary.
I love the story, Tony, about the silent films, and we don't realize in that moment how that's influencing our life to come. So did you just have this talent? You picked up a paintbrush and the art came out of you?
I think so. My parents, again, were, they came from a refugee camp in Rome before they, entered, Detroit in 1969. And although they were in, this like art mecca, they really didn't have a lot of exposure to art. Before that, they came from the hills of Montenegro. And so I guess I kind of felt sort of like an alien in a way, just because I was sort of I guess born a creative, and it really wasn't something that I was seeing a lot in my immediate world. So yeah, I mean, I think to answer your question, yeah, I was pretty much it chose me, I guess, is the way that it's phrased.
Well, you're very lucky, and you're very gifted, and you're very talented. And as your name has continued to grow in the artwork, you're very successful. But you've also started up the Restaurant Relief Fund. Where'd that come from, and why did you want to do it?
Yeah, I think like a lot of the initiatives that have ended up being like, campaigns, if you will, really just started out organically. I know that I was inspired by, early on, a few years back, I was inspired by firefighters and their efforts and just the reading about backstories and stuff like that. And I created this piece of a fireman. It was like a 6-foot tall piece that now has permanent residence in the Detroit Foundation Hotel, which, as you know, is an old, adaptive reuse of the old fire headquarters in Detroit. And the next thing I knew, we were doing a campaign for the Firefighters Relief Fund. And again, it started out organically. It started out just being inspired by firefighters. And then I guess when the piece was completed, it was like, okay, now how can we use this to, do something positive? I did a nurse piece during the pandemic, and I think it was the same way. I was just inspired by, their courage, knowing so little about the pandemic, and just going in every day and kind of, facing and providing care for infected, patients when they didn't know anything about the disease. And so I painted this piece of a nurse, and once it was completed, it was kind of very similar. We ended up partnering with Henry Ford Health Systems, and the proceeds to that went to, buying N95 masks. And so that's very much the same as what happened with the restaurant relief industry, or the fund. I was just inspired by the hard work and courage of these, and devotion of these industry workers. And if you know any of them, many of them are friends and loved ones in my life, whether they're proprietors or whether they're bartenders, servers. It's really a way of life for these guys, and their devotion and commitment to these jobs and careers is just unparalleled. They're some of the hardest hustlers in the workforce, and they live and breathe this stuff. So again, and not to be long-winded, but I was inspired by that. I began painting, some images of that to try and illustrate, what I had mentioned earlier. And once we had gotten a few completed, it turned into the same thing. Okay, well, now how can we use these images to do something positive and provide some sort of relief for this industry that is, so challenged right now.
And again, we're talking with Tony Roko. He's an artist here locally, but also helping out so many of our restaurant workers with the Restaurant Relief Fund. And we should say, too, even though the restaurants are back open, it's not business as usual. There is still a struggle out there for so many of the people in the restaurant industry, but we've also come to realize it's not the restaurant. We go to these places for the atmosphere and the social connection that we have to one another. And when they closed down, so a lot of people, were somewhat depressed because they couldn't go to these, restaurants or your local watering hole. It could be a dive bar, or it could be a 5-star restaurant. There's a connection there. It's not just about the food or drink that you're being served.
Yeah, I think we all came to realize how essential they were, and not just in a sense of, providing, food or nutrition. It's more of like this connectivity and gathering place for friends and family, like creating these memorable experiences. And these are the guys that provide that. And I think that we quickly learned that it was an important component to, our social lives and just in connectivity. The carryouts were great, and thank God that, many of the restaurants could keep their doors and kitchen, or some of the restaurants could keep their doors and kitchens open and provide carryout, pivot, that sort of thing. But it was just, we quickly realized, you know, what we were missing, I guess. So to your point.
So with that, Tony, how does this work? You painted the paintings and people can purchase them. Where can they see them?
Yeah, so, you know, there's a piece associated with, you know, each restaurant right now in Detroit that's participating. We have Chartreuse, and I'm sure I'm going to forget some of them. So maybe, you know, I could provide you with a list later or whatever. But Chartreuse, She-Wolf, Pernod, Grey Ghost, the Apparatus Room, the Detroit Foundation Hotel is participating. The Detroit Club Hotel is participating. Carl's Kitchen inside the Siren Hotel. 2 James Detroit. And I'm sure there's a few that I'm missing, so I apologize to those guys, just because, well, you know, and there's, we're partnering up with new participants, you know, what seems to be daily. So the response has been amazing. Anyways, you can go into one of your favorite restaurants, you see the piece on the wall, there's a QR code associated with that, and you can click on it. It takes you to our landing page where you can not only purchase the print of your choice. I think there's 10 up right now, and I'm creating a new one as we speak. So you can select the image that you most identify with. And then also there's a drop-down bar where you can select the restaurant that you'd like to support. So the proceeds will go to the restaurant, and part of those proceeds also go to our 501c3, the Art Foundation, where we work with underserved youth. If you're not at a restaurant and you know, you still would like to purchase one, and you know, you're not there to click on the QR code, artofroko.com, that's ARTOFROKO.com, will take you to a landing page where, again, you can select the image in the restaurant you'd like to support.
So when you paint a piece for a project like this, does it mean more, or does it mean something different for you when you paint a piece of artwork for a client?
I mean, obviously this has a lot of backstory and with the, you know, it's so relevant to the times. So I think that, you know, I think it's just different. But less and less do I paint for clients. I think that with what I do, it's really important to, you know, when you put brush to board, to be painting for yourself. And that's what keeps the work authentic. Once it's completed, it can kind of be for everyone else after that. But it's really gotta begin with you and what inspires you personally. I have done a lot of commissions in the past, and it's fun, and I wouldn't take anything from that. But most currently, you know, I'm trying to just paint whatever inspires me, and then if it's a fit down the road for somebody, then you know, they can either acquisition the piece or that sort of thing. But I guess to answer your questions, yeah, it's pretty special, and you know, I'm pretty inspired to you know, paint something so relevant of a subject matter and something so significant.
Well, you are extremely talented, and we so appreciate your time, and we also appreciate you supporting the restaurant industry. The images are amazing. So again, if you want to see some of the pieces that you can get the prints to, it's artofroko.com. Thank you, Tony, so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
You have amazing talent. All of us non-artists are so jealous. So you're very lucky.
It doesn't come without deficit, so thank you.
Well, again, we appreciate your time. When we come back, we are going to round out the show with a little bit of fun on this Friday, talking about Oddities and Curiosities, the expo this weekend here on the Megacast.
to Sofia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior.
These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance.
They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different.
One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games?
Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever you think's all true.
Just about 20 minutes left here in the Friday edition of the Megacast. And one of the things that, again, makes us feel so different than last summer as we start to emerge, hopefully, from this pandemic, so many cool events are returning to Metro Detroit. And one of those includes the Oddities and Curiosities Expo happening tomorrow at the Suburban Collection Showplace in Novi. And to talk more about this, we want to bring in Michelle Casagiglio. How do I pronounce your last name? Casagiglio.
It's Casalio.
Casalio. Hey, so tell us more about the expo.
Yeah, so the Oddities and Curiosities Expo, I like to say, is for lovers of the strange and unusual. We showcase vendors from all over the country with all things weird. So you can kind of think of it as a Halloween/horror convention, except for we have even more.
And there's a little bit of weirdness in all of us.
Yeah, for sure. And we think it's important to have something weird for everyone. So you can come to our show and find, skulls, bones, a serious oddities collector can come to our show and find something. But then also anyone can come, someone's like, oh, that sounds weird, I want to check it out, or I love Halloween. So we try to have something a little weird for everyone.
And with that, Michelle, if we can ask, this year's a little bit different because we are still in the middle of a pandemic. How are things going to look this year? I think we have her video freezing up just there. You froze up just a little bit. So how are things going to be different this year?
Well, luckily things are slowly getting better. So we still have some, regulations in place for our show to make sure everyone still feels safe while attending. We still leave really large, our floor plan has a lot of space so everyone can social distance. Masks are still recommended, but not required if you've been vaccinated. Luckily, as we're progressing in the year, a lot of our vendors are starting to travel again. So we have vendors still even from all over the country at this show in Detroit.
So has it been easier this year to get vendors because they haven't been out for so long?
Sort of. At the beginning of the year, it was hard because a lot of people want to travel, totally understandable. And so it was a little bit more difficult because we have a lot of people who travel with us. It's probably half and half. We have people from the local area that we're in, and then we have people that are traveling from all over. So as the year has progressed, it's gotten a lot easier. But at the beginning, it was a lot less vendors anyway. So we never really had any problems. It was just really adapting to the times.
And we should note that the expo is not just here in Detroit. This travels. You guys are going to be in several cities.
Yes, we're all over the country. This year, we scheduled 26 shows. We went into it knowing we wouldn't have all of them just due to COVID and, all the different state regulations. But I think we're going to end up having around 20. So I'm still happy with that, just to be able to work again and get all these vendors working again. It's just, it's amazing.
So not to put you on the spot or anything, but what is your favorite vendor or your favorite, I guess, I don't even know what to call them, your favorite oddities? How's that?
Well, I love them all equally.
Such a good answer.
But, yeah, they're all great. But personally, I am a collector of antiquities, and so I love myself even shopping through the vendors that have antiques. But not just like normal antiques, they're strange antiques, so you can find old medical equipment, old funeral collectibles, and stuff like that at our show. So personally, I love just rummaging through the antiques vendors. I love art. I collect art too, so I love all the dark artists that are there. But I myself spend way too much money at the show.
And Michelle, I have to ask, because the name is perfect for this. Does it attract a good following?
It does. And kind of like I touched on earlier, someone that actually collects oddities, or say they collect taxidermy or skulls, bones, dark art, they will come and they will for sure find something that, they've been looking forward to it. There's nothing here that I can just go to and buy stuff like this. So we attract those people, the people who are actually into this. And then we attract literally anyone who's like, oh, it's weird, I'm gonna go check it out. So yeah, we have a great attendance everywhere we go, and I think it's just it piques your interest. You're like, what am I gonna find at this event?
Definitely some very unique items. And I think about this because I am a crazy Halloween person, but it's a little bit hard to think about Halloween in July.
I'm into it. Halloween, I'm like, I live the life of Halloween. So, you can celebrate Halloween in July. It doesn't matter.
Right, they have Christmas in July. Why not Halloween in July?
Exactly.
So, and I also wonder, Michelle, in talking with the vendors, where do they find the items that they, sell to the public?
Well, so if they're not handcrafted or like an artist, for example, we have some taxidermy vendors who buy old collections from auctions. So you may see some taxidermy mounts from the 20s or 30s. So, we have a lot of our vendors do that. They buy from auctions, they go picking at antique stores every day. I mean, it takes a lot to run a business like that, where you're just constantly, replenishing and picking at different other businesses. But I mean, I love some of the taxidermy vendors who just acquire really old collections from other taxidermy collectors. So maybe you're buying a really cool antique bear mount from the 20s or something like that.
Wow. And so I wonder too, because of, we saw more so in the beginning of COVID, people with collections were selling and getting rid of a lot of their collections, especially as people kind of redo their homes. So has it opened up the market for some of these items for people to buy, or have more people just taken to trying to sell them themselves, like online? I think Michelle, can you still hear us? So we should note that she is in the back of the Suburban Collection Showplace, and I know as a person who has had to do countless live shots from there, it could be spotty wherever it is. I know that we have some of those problems in some of our other bigger locations as well. Michelle, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can now. Yeah, I was just like, oh, it's cutting out a little, but I think I got your question.
That's okay. We understand. But I was wondering, with COVID-19, some collectors got rid of their collections throughout the pandemic. But has that been the case, or have people tried to take to selling them to online? So what's the market like right now with the pandemic?
I think it was a little bit of both, really. I mean, I have heard from some of our vendors that they acquired some great collections from people selling stuff during COVID, especially during the height when people are out of work. And, and basically these vendors, everyone was out of work for the most part. Everyone in our industry was. So, it was kind of a give and take. People are like, well, I'm going to invest in this collection because eventually we'll get back to work. But, it's just a really tough time for everyone, the seller of the collection and the buyer of the collection. So, yeah, I really think it was a little bit of both.
Again, the Oddities and Curiosity Expo is going to be happening tomorrow from 10 until 6 at the Suburban Collection Showplace. Are tickets still available?
Yes, we had a limited amount online just to help us keep track of our capacity. We're still kind of operating off of a smaller capacity just to keep everyone feeling good. So you can buy tickets at the door, though, any time of the day.
What's it been like for you to put this show together, not knowing where we would be, like with restrictions, and they change from state to state as well?
Yes. Yes, they're different everywhere we go. So it's been a struggle, but I don't care. I'm just so happy to be working again. I have no complaints.
There you go. You're like, we'll hit the road. We'll deal with whatever we have to deal with and continue on with the show. Well, it's great to have you guys back.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be back.
Well, we wish you the best of luck this weekend. Again, the show is going to be taking place tomorrow from 10 until 6. We know the weather is not going to be the best, at least for the first half of the day. So what a unique and different type of expo to come here to Metro Detroit.
Yeah, and something for people, for everyone. If you are interested in these oddities, then it's like Michelle said, it's a place that you can go where you can find some of these things that you're looking for that otherwise there may not be many, if any, options for you to go to and find these. And for people that maybe aren't interested or are curious, they can go there and check some of these things out, or they just want to see some weird stuff, some different items that they're not used to seeing in other stores or in thrift shops or wherever they might be, and see something new, learn something new, and do something different that's interesting with their weekend.
Hey, Michelle, I think you're still with us before we say goodbye. How much are tickets? I think we did lose her. Again, a little bit of a connection problem there at the showplace, but we understand that. I did have it up, and talking about connection problems, we have it here in the studio as well. And so I try to go to all of the websites prior to the show so I can pull them up.
Sure.
But I did that and then went to search for something and lost it. I want to say how tickets. Tickets tickets are at $10 in advance and then $15 a day of the show. Okay. So kids 12 and under are free. They do not need a ticket. Limited tickets are going to be available each hour to allow for social distancing. And I know that this seems like one of those odd things to do, but they are very popular because of it being just that. Yeah. We have so many of these craft shows and art fairs throughout the state of Michigan in the summer months, and you'll find that typically the artists will go from one fair to the other, to the other, to the other. This one is only coming here once. It's very unique and attracts a unique crowd as well.
Yeah, it's something different, and it's an experience as much as it is a shopping opportunity and a hobbying opportunity for people all over our local area.
So again, happening tomorrow at Showplace over there in Novi. Do you have any big plans this weekend?
No big plans this weekend, other than trying to avoid stepping in too many puddles along the way between here and West Bloomfield parks, and then try to get out in the sun, because we at this point we never know when we see the sun outside, a nice bright sunny summer day here in Michigan, when the next one's gonna come, because right now we've had one of the more rainy summers in recent memory.
Oh my gosh, I will say it got a little bit nice last night, and trying to sit outdoors, the mosquitoes are crazy right now. It makes it, when we do get a little bit of nice weather, hard to sit outside and enjoy it, because it's like a feast.
Yeah, it is. Very muggy weather, too, which I don't particularly enjoy. It was kind of tough, too, because last night, Ryan, of course, our Zoom producer today, and I were working on the Keegle Harbor City Council meeting, and we're taking all of our equipment out of there, and we're lugging it back outside and into the vehicle. And just in the 5 minutes or so that it took us to transport the equipment out of City Hall and into our vehicles, it was already very muggy out there and sticky, and it was just gross. And then you have the mosquitoes, which weren't too bad starting off here this summer and have gotten progressively worse. And the musty weather, not helping us, very much helping them.
I know, we're like dinner for all the mosquitoes.
Exactly. Not that tasty.
Hey, but we had a great week this week. A lot of great guests, a lot of interesting guests. And so, again, we want to invite you, if you missed part of the show, just go to civiccentertv.com. Click on the Megacast. There you'll see the full episodes. But also, if you just go to the individual, like, on-demand section, there you can watch the individual interviews as well. And I will say, it is a chore. People may not understand. To try to book 25 guests live each and every week is a big chore here. And of course, when the show started, they thought it was just going to be for a couple weeks, maybe a month. Here we are more than a year later. And so we tried to continue to search for new guests as well to be on the show to highlight, how they're doing throughout the pandemic, because it's not over just yet. So now really the focus is on how everyone's emerging from this crisis and what it took for them to survive, but also some of the things and the interesting things, such as the expo coming up as events start to return to the area as well. So we'd like to remind anyone out there, if you want to be a guest on the show, just contact us, and you can do so when you go to civiccentertv.com. We're always looking for new guests to be on the show. And so with that, though, a huge shout out to Larry and Ryan for all their help this week as well, and trying to get the show up and running each and every day. So we do appreciate it.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes to this. We have a very small operation here at Civic Center TV that is running this, and it's a lot to get the word out about what we do here at Civic Center TV individually for all of our other programming, let alone a 2-hour show every single day of the regular work week, 5 days a week. And it's much more than just the 2 hours that we're coming in here each and every day. Not only reaching out to people to come on the show, but gathering information about those people and their projects and their stories, so that we can have a compelling long-form interview. Because unlike other news, talk, radio, and television programs, these interviews are extensive, and we're trying to get as much detail as we can out of them. And so you have to know a lot about these people, and we have to really do a lot of communication in order to get this show going. So we do really appreciate the work of Larry and the work of Ryan behind the scenes every day to get us on the air, but also prepare us for the show.
So with that, just so you know, this is what we call a little bit of a stretch, because we didn't have the best connection with Michelle, and so it makes it a little bit hard because we know it's breaking up, and it's frustrating for them, it's frustrating for us, and then especially if you're listening on the radio, it can be not the best interview. But again, you just never know, and we know that your connection changes daily. Sometimes I have a great connection at home, sometimes not so great. It just all depends. So, but still, we appreciate her for taking time to be with us. And with that, that should pretty much, are we getting close to the top of the hour there, Tyler?
We've got about 55 seconds left, about a minute left.
So
we're getting close. We can stretch a little bit further out. We're still stretching, but you know what? We got about a minute left, and then we'll feel nice and loose going into the weekend after all that stretching.
Look, I'm telling you, it's been quite the week. I'm ready for the weekend. Even though I'm working this weekend, I'm ready for the weekend, because I feel like we need a break. And Mother Nature, can we not have any more rain?
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to look out back in our loading dock ramp area and in front to check out what I'm referring to as Lake Scott and Lake Albury back there, because we get puddles of water to just create a pool on both sides of our building after this rain. And apparently there's been a lot of it during this 2 hours.
Oh, yeah, we could hear it. So it's going to be, hey, I do have my hunter boots on. I can go splash, although I have my short one. So
congratulations.
Don't want to be in
keeping Greater West. Okay, that's a little bit aggressive. Sorry, that's automatic. And I guess it's 12 noon.
Happy weekend, everyone.